Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. On a practical level, we think that we've already established that a better society with less violence will result from this plan. I will revisit that and give us the practical justifications with some more analysis. Then I will go into an even more interesting part, namely the principle level, that even if society were better off, with people being, well, banned from having a gun, then still we think that citizens should be entitled to carry a gun to protect their own lives, because they couldn't be expected to sacrifice their own safety and their own, well, own life, basically, in order to get some abstract goal that will not benefit them in the future. Basically, it's subjecting them to torture. I'll explain that. This will be interesting. Now, first of all, we heard some interesting stuff on the other side as well. First of all, they said, we're going to give everyone a gun. They haven't listened. We said there will be a choice, there will be licenses, not everyone will have a gun per definition. Then they said, well, there's already a deterrence in the status quo. Really, Senna, if there's a big bodybuilder type person that has sexual frustration and looks at you, would he really be deterred from your, well, vulnerable state? No. So basically, that doesn't apply. There's not already deterrence in the current situation. Then they simply assert that gangs killing each other is good. Young people in socially deprived areas who were lured into these guns, being killed by other young people, destroying their life, is a good thing? Are you kidding me? Sit down. Sorry, that's just, it's horrible to even consider this. Now, what they say licenses are not effective, we've already talked about if you have a license, if you as a lawful citizen know that you are entitled to carry a gun, you might practice at a gun range, you might even become enthusiastic about practicing your aim. So we don't really see whether there's a problem. And then this entire line of argumentation that any dispute in society will result in 2 headshots and 2 people, or at least one person dying. And then you say no. Proportionality still applies when you're in the self-defense situation. In the current situation, we allow you to kill another person if you have no other option to protect your own life. Whether you use a fork, whether you use your fingers, whether you use some sort of karate chop, we don't care. If you have no other option, we allow you to use deadly force. And then they say, well, and we say, why won't you then allow people to use a gun to protect themselves? Because it's still possible with a gun to exert non-lethal violence. I can still shoot you in the kneecaps. I can still shoot you somewhere where you won't probably die. And even if you're already on the floor as my attacker, because I shoot you in the kneecaps and I shoot you then in the head, I will still be punished because I use disproportional amounts of force. And I still have a lawful deterrence from actually going gun nut crazy and killing on everyone that has infringed upon my rights. So, sorry, that was your case. Now, the practical point. What we say is there will be more deterrence. Even if you have a concealed weapon, people will know that you won't know whether the old lady on the street is carrying a weapon or not. So I might reconsider attacking her because she might be a gun enthusiast. So the point is, you don't have to carry your gun all the time in order to have a deterrence effect. And we do believe that this deterrence effect will be there. Also, no. We think that this will empower innocent bystanders who now can do nothing but feel helpless and see innocent people being abused. Why can't they do anything? Because they won't intervene because they fear for their own life. They fear for reprisal, they fear for more violence hitting them. What happens then is they have to watch this traumatic event happen and feel guilty for a long time afterwards, instead of stepping in and saving a poor woman, man, child, whatever, who is a victim of a crime. A gun empowers people to do the right thing, to get over their insecurities and to actually help their fellow citizens. We think that's a good thing. Now, Rogier, try.
How does that work if everybody has a gun?
Everybody has a gun.
Being free if
well,
everybody is afraid.
No, that won't be the case. We think that when people feel empowered, look, for instance, victims. They are the most afraid. Once you have been raped, you might not want to go on the street because you fear of it happening again. It might be sort of irrational, but it's still a fear that will cripple these people's lives.
Please.
If you give them a gun, they will go on the street to have their liberty back. And we think that victims deserve that. So, there. Fear won't happen, and if it happens, it will be overcome. Now, let's go into the principle level. What we say is that, as we already established, there's basic inequality. Some people are born with less muscles, some people choose to debate instead of exercising, like me. The point is, there is more risk to some in our society. Women are more at risk of being raped, of having violence inflicted upon them, and they by nature have not been endowed by the same means to protect themselves. And by allowing everyone to have this gun, to have a self-defense potentiality, we will be leveling the playing field. We think that's a good thing. if we don't allow that, we're sentencing the vulnerable members of our society as a group to abuse. Why? Because basically, it's a newsflash, guys. Predators always take the weakest target. You won't attack a bodybuilder on the street. You won't attack someone carrying a gun or t-shirt because you know that something will happen. You will attack an easy target. Therefore, the people who are vulnerable, who look vulnerable in the current situation, if you don't allow them to have a gun, you are basically sentencing them to abuse. Because that brings you to the next point. Because the state can be everywhere in order to protect you, in time or place. They can't be there. The state monopoly that they've assumed there simply doesn't exist. The state can be everywhere, and criminals will always have guns. Why? Because criminals need to protect themselves from other criminals. Because they don't have the state monopoly to give them security. They need guns to protect them from criminals with other guns. And criminals don't look at your gun laws. They can simply smuggle it in. The state cannot prevent criminals from having guns, unless you're North Korea, but then you're going to be a free citizen anyway. So, what happens here is that by having a situation where the state cannot protect you at all times, by having people in society by nature being more vulnerable than others, you are, by depriving them of lawful means to protect themselves, proportionally, you are sentencing them to collective torture. So even if all these collective benefits of increased security won't happen, then still, we think it's fundamentally bad to torture some in our society for a greater good for all, because we don't even allow torture on people with beards that we don't like, let alone on our own body. So we don't think this is a reasonable sacrifice to ask of people to lay down the possibility to potentially save their lives, save their mental state, and be the free citizen that they are. So what have we brought you? We've given you very credible evidence that this will practically make our society more safe. It will empower bystanders, it will make sure that there is a deterrence by concealed or by active use of guns. We also said proportionality can still be exerted when you own a gun. And even more on a principle level, because the state cannot be everywhere, because criminals will always have an incentive to have the advantage, there you shouldn't be subjected to torture for their general public, very abstract goals. I beg you to propose.